Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Today we are joined by Rory Alexander, who plays Murtagh, and Sadhbh Malin, who plays Jocasta MacKenzie on Outlander Blood of My Blood. New episodes air Friday nights on Starz. Rory and Sadhbh, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I want to start by asking you about how you approach playing these younger versions of these characters, right? People know Murtagh and Jocasta from the original Outlander series, but the older versions of themselves, right? You're playing the younger versions. How do you approach playing characters that the viewers know and recognize and picking out little traits in their younger selves that the viewers will recognize, but yet at the same time making them different and unique? The different people aren't the same when they're younger as they are when they're older. For example, Murtagh is more hopeful in this prequel series. Talk to me about this process.
Yes. Well, I guess, I mean, we all kind of, I think, spoke about this the whole way through filming. Like, it wasn't something that you were really able to obsess over, or, like, I guess for me, it was about finding the essence of Jocasta, and like small things like voice, and because I do think the way someone starts off their life as a baby and, as a young person, and the way they end, there's often something really in their essence that's very similar. So I do, for me, like, the essence was quite important, but then also, like, remembering how much Jocasta goes through in her life, and all of those experiences are what make her the version that we meet in Outlander. So I guess, like, trusting that, like, she's going through all of those things episode by episode that are going to turn her into who she becomes. So yeah, I guess trusting in that, and trusting that if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Of you can't play the character like you've been through those experiences, and that's kind of the joy of getting to do it. Is you go, well, we are on one side of the veil, and then everyone has already seen on the other. And there's little things like, Sadhbh and mine's like kind of chemistry on screen might be different to theirs, but the same thing is true, which is that they have an important and deep connection. And I don't think there are certain organic things that you can just mimic. Otherwise, you fall into the realm of kind of being inauthentic. And also, there are similarities that come through just by dint of being in the same universe. It's the same family members, and like they're fighting the same, well, they're not the same wars, but figuratively the same wars. So much of the similarities are kind of given to you by the world already, which is really, really useful.
Outlander Blood of My Blood is a very physical show, right? A lot of it's filmed outside. There's I don't know what the weather's like when you're filming. Maybe it's too hot or it's too cold. There's animals, your mud, dirt, bugs. Can both of you pick out a day or a scene that was the most challenging or uncomfortable filming the show? Talk about that. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe what's something that you thought going in was going to be a difficult day or a challenge, and then it ended up being a pleasant surprise, where at the end of the day you said to yourself, oh my gosh, if I wasn't on this show, I never would have got to experience this moment. Talk about
that. Well, we've had some very uncomfortable ones on season 2 already, and we've only just started, so that's not a good sign. I had an incident with a horse where I was stood on the mark for too long, and the horse, like the Mario Kart, actually, it got too charged up, and I was meant to it's actually in the start of episode 5. I come in and I tell Brian, come on, let's go to the festival. But the horse just galloped full speed into this courtyard, and there were 200 crew and a crane and all the lights and stuff, and I was riding over the cobbles, and as I came round, Jamie looked up, and apparently I was just manically giggling. And Jamie was like, why is he going to this scene? Hysterical. And I was like, no, I didn't choose to do this. I was just my pure fear pouring out of me. So yeah, that was a pretty sticky day, I think. I got it in the end. Just
we had one day at the funeral scene at the very start of episode 1. It was actually an amazing day, but we went, I think it was in Crieff in Scotland. We travelled up there to shoot the scene. They had this amazing place down all these windy roads. Like, if you imagine kind of like the most rural, undiscovered Scottish land, like down, it was wild, and it was amazing. It was so beautiful, and so many of us there, and so many essays and crew and stuff. I have never seen rain like it in my life, and I'm from Ireland. It was like rain that you could like see. It was like bullets, and just went all day, and like I just felt for like it was like bullets. But they did it, and it actually looks amazing, so it was worth it. But yeah, it was amazing.
That shot of you guys on the road, and then like the really far, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's fabulous shot.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. But yeah, but it was one of those days where you're like everyone just laughed so much, and we had so much fun, and we were all together, and like, but like no one had any signal, and we're like, God, if something happens.
And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, what was like a pleasant day or a pleasant moment? Big surprise.
There were loads. Sometimes it's just about doing a really, really good scene. Like our scene in episode 5, I loved doing, and I knew as soon as I read that script, I knew that was the scene that was kind of make or break. Like if we did it badly, I would have thought about it for weeks. So yeah, when things like that go well, or it felt like it went well, that's like really special. I think my first day filming was a scene I think it's cut, because it probably wasn't very good. And it was Brian and Murtagh by a fire, and before they go to the gathering. And I just couldn't really get my head around the fact that it was just two people in a fire, and yet we were in the middle of the forest. The cranes had lit up the sky so that it was starlight, and there was a fake moon. And Philippe, the chef, had been preparing an actual rabbit for us to cook over the fire, and he'd been seasoning it with like thyme and tarragon, and then there was a van that was giving us hot gyoza in the middle of the night, and we're literally in the middle of nowhere. And I just thought, this is like they've just created an entire world just so that me and this lad can sit by this fire and say 3 lines. And like it blew my mind.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think, yeah, I think there were so many days. I mean, there was like amazing days where like loads of us were in, and sitting in the easy up, and it's just like not to sound, yeah, it was just like laughing, just so much laughing, so much that you like go home with a headache, and like it. I know probably every like cast says this, like, oh, we're all genuinely friends, but like we're genuinely really good friends. And it's like so lovely and cool that you get to go to for like people that you genuinely think are class. But yeah, I think those days where there's loads of people in, and it's like you kind of like get so giddy and hyper, and you go home and your head hurts, and people are like, do you want to go for dinner? And you're like, I have to go sit in a quiet room for the night, I think. Yeah. I think those days are really special because you're like, this is work, this is mad.
Big time. Doing the Belton Festival was like that. I had the giggles at Belton for 4 days. And everyone was there, and then you kept forgetting that like certain characters don't know other characters. So I kept giggling with Conor, who plays Ned. And I thought, hang on a second, Murtagh doesn't know who Ned is, but he just you go, right, come on, be professional. Yeah, I think we are very lucky, not to sound trite.
Well, we are sadly out of time. You can catch Rory and Sadhbh as Murtagh and Jocasta in Outlander, Blood of My Blood. New episodes air every Friday night on Starz. Rory and Sadhbh, thank you so much for chatting with us today on Cherry the Geek TV.